Today is Wednesday. I'm just getting back from White Rock where we did a socially distanced recording for Hilarapy tonight, and it's the stuff that people have been working on in the last 6 to 8 weeks while going through COVID on Wednesday evenings in the drop-in class, and people have established new comedy and done some of their old comedy and mixed it together, some of them, and we're gonna put it to a show. So collect all the video. Elaine from Hilarapy is going to edit it, bless her, because she's amazing at it, and I know how big of a job it is. Well, I don't even have a clue, to be honest, but I suspect it's a big job, and I know that, behind the scenes sometimes is where the magic happens before it happens on the screen, so to speak. And this idea of it takes a village, right? So I know for myself, when my kids were little, I was a single parent, and I was the one that was the mom, the dad, the everything, and I was in service to them full time. So there was no sort of downtime, there was no day off, there was no when's it my turn, except for the times when I took the time for my mental health and wellness to improve myself, self-development, dialed myself into, reading and taking courses and getting really on top of some of the healing that I felt needed to happen in order for me to move forward in life. And so fast forward, 16, 17 years later, I see the impact happening of all of those things that I put into place as steps at the time, based on where I was at, based on what I was able to accomplish or do in those moments. And, having the pressure of what mental health challenges sometimes present in the idea that, sometimes I feel stuck, I'm depressed. Depression is one of those weird things. It's really hard to articulate exactly what happens, but it isn't logical. It's something chemically, obviously, that happens inside. Everything's sort of out of whack and wonky, so to speak. And so to navigate some of that stuff over the years was challenging, because I had some really low lows, like really low lows, and then some amazing high highs. And it's not that I don't still have highs and lows, because that happens on a daily basis these days. I'm noticing that, we're opening things up, phase 1, phase 2, whatever's actually going on, that life is getting busier, and it feels like we're attempting to get back to what normal is, and everywhere I go indicates that we're no longer operating in a normal system. There's a lot of alarm, there's a lot of intensity, there's a lot of caution, there's a lot of precaution, and a lot of people are doing a lot of different things. So it's interesting to try and navigate how to take care of my personal health while I could be interacting with somebody that may not have the same values or standards around that. And so, the only thing that I can do is protect myself from putting myself in situations that are dangerous and risky. And even though we met in person tonight, it felt so good to be in a room with these people who I've seen on a screen in Zoom land for the last 8 weeks, who have come and shared themselves vulnerably and authentically on this group that we have going on in the background, understanding that it's in those places where we give opportunity to have people be heard and be seen. And when they recognize that they matter, then they start to grow and shift and change some of the things that automatically just happen to us in life, right? So, some of us have had really, really good weeks or really, really good days, but there are days when we don't have such good times. There are things that come up that sort of take us out of the game from time to time, and or surprise us, or put us off, or make us think, and start to really evaluate things, our thoughts, our feelings, our place, our role, our stance on something, our understanding the way it has been, maybe the understanding that we want to change it to. Everything is a veil that keeps and continually unfolding in a moment-to-moment basis, and understanding that it's a journey, just like life, just like anything. It is a journey. There's a process that will happen, and it will continue to happen step after step after step after step after step, experience after experience after experience after experience. understanding that the support that we are willing to ask for, and you have to be willing to ask. And I know sometimes how hard that's been for me to say, because it felt like weakness and it felt like I need to do this myself. And ultimately I did. And I proved to myself over and over and over again is I can do it myself. I can do it the best, and I can do it myself. And the problem with that is that years later, like 16, 17 years later, I see the wear and tear that I've taken on my body, on my thought process, on my mental and physical health. And the times that I was willing to ask for support and say, hey, I can't do this myself right now. Could you help me out? Might you be able to help me in this way? That most of the time I've always been told yes, or given what I need, or sent in a different direction if they can't. Definitely it led to a solution. And what I'm grateful for is the idea that support is available, even though sometimes we may feel alone and that we're not supported. And I know that the world globally, its citizens right now are restless and tired and sad and angry and mad and glad and a million different things at a million different moments with millions and millions of different people. And everybody has their own experience of the same experience. And so really wanting just to hold space for that. It's one of the things about my parenting that I really appreciated was I had 3 kids that had 3 completely different experiences of the same trauma. So it was a traumatic event, but each one of them, each one of us, all 4 of us, had a different experience of that experience. And so one of the things that I was diligent about and adamant about was making space for the fact that nobody's trauma was worse or better than. It was not comparable. It just was. And each person that experienced that thing had the right to have their version seen and heard, and to have made room for whatever was necessary. And sometimes in that making room for everybody else, I closed myself in and down, and I didn't make room for what it is that I wanted. But it was mostly because I was freaking exhausted, and I didn't know how to do it. And I was doing it to the best of my knowledge and capability at the time. And as I learned and as I healed and as I moved forward and as I took this step that built on this step, that built on this step, that built on this step, that took me to rises and falls and rises and falls, to rise again, to potentially, have an experience where I feel done to again. That's usually where the fall comes from, is this feeling of being victimized in some way, or ridiculed, or laughed at, made fun of, thought of, judged, whatever the thing is that takes us out of the game. And I believe that we all have those circumstances from time to time that govern some of the decisions that we make and the places that we'll participate. And tonight I was just so proud to see so many people of so many different walks of life who have had different kinds of trauma, are wounded in different ways, but all came together today to culminate into this really, amazing crescendo of the work that we've done over the past 8 weeks to help our mental health, to talk about the things that are important to us, to share the things that are painful, and celebrate the things that we want to celebrate, that we're celebrating together, and holding on to each other and really loving each other through kindness, communication, making space for everybody to be seen, for everyone to be heard, and for everyone to know that they matter. I don't know how many times I need to tell myself this, and potentially need to tell others this that are listening. You matter. You're enough. What you do to contribute to the world is good. Be good to yourself and kind to yourself and gentle with yourself. But also be willing to dig and uncover the stuff that's hidden and that maybe we've been ignorant about, and be willing to be wrong, be willing to do it imperfectly, but be willing to be curious, be willing to fold back the folds and take a look at things from every different vantage point, that idea of grokking something, really identifying from every angle, all the things that you can think about this one experience, and make a ton of room for the fact that we are all having our own experiences of a similar or same experience, and it is global, and it's expansive, and it's fluid, and it's always moving. But what I see being created is a massive impact, and this ripple effect that's happening afterwards, the aftershocks of that. And although there are moments in time when I am absolutely disgusted with humanity, where I see people acting or saying or being a certain way that is absolutely no longer something that can be handled, it can no longer be okay. But I also see people standing up in their pride, up for their voice, sharing their stories, and owning more of who they are, and saying no more. There's a line right there. We're never going to be on the other side of that line again. And so now it'll perpetually be this motion moving forward, where it will get louder and louder and louder and louder, until all the shock waves that created from the impact are seen, heard, recognized, acknowledged. And the resounding rhythm of that, and the frequency of love, is the thing that is going to continue to open up conversations, to keep things open and in a loving place. I get the rage. I understand righteous anger. I absolutely do, and I have a lot of it. But my experience is my rage has never solved anything. That when I come from a place of love, working to understand better so that I can then do better, watching my blind spots, understanding that I am responsible for my own change, and creating opportunities for others to do the same. We're all in this together, and I have so much love and adoration for the people tonight that came out and produced new comedy in a time of COVID-19 when not a whole lot seems funny. And as a comedian, it's hard sometimes to get to that place where I don't feel any of the meh. And tonight was one of those opportunities to stand in my power, stand in my passion, do some stand-up comedy off the cuff, and really have a good time, with the hopes to entertain people, to bring levity, to bring joy, and to bring laughter, because it is really good medicine, mental health medicine for the soul. So much love. Looking forward to seeing you tomorrow.